What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream as we enter this international break and figure out how we're going to get through the boredom of the next 2 weeks. But we're here, people, and we do have some things to talk about. We're still going to talk about the fallout from the weekend when we beat Man United. We'll obviously look ahead to next week when we're back and we play Everton. Some international updates as well. A little bit of transfer news in and out. Should be quick and sharp, people. The green screen was necessary. It's the chop of dreams from Gabriel Jesus on Dallo. You know, don't worry, people. Dallo is not going to come sliding out of the screen at you. I thought he was at a water park at Disney World the way he went sliding off the pitch. And I've got to be honest, I'm just putting it out there. How many times have you watched the Gabriel Jesus and Declan Rice goal? I would say I've watched those goals at least 30, 40 times. No exaggeration. I think I actually watched the Gabriel Jesus goal about 15 times in a row the other day, man. There's certain goals, you know. I remember when Welbeck scored that header against Leicester. I watched that goal about 50 times. And this Gabriel Jesus goal, I reckon I'm at least 40, 50. And the Declan Rice one as well, man. It's necessary, people. That was a special ending to the game. I can't lie. And I always say, you know, I'm one of these people, you know. I like to be balanced. At times I will criticise heavily, but I'll praise heavily, and we have to enjoy those victories, man. There was a Man United fan messaging me saying, I can't believe you said that Arsenal brushed United in the title the other day. He was putting angry faces, and I was like, bro, you turned up. You played counter-attack. You lost 3-1. I'm not interested in all the other details. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, the crowd reactions. I'm not even going to lie. I'm going to say something for the first time. I'm going to say something for the first time. I'm going to be honest. I watched a clip on Arsenal's YouTube page of North London Forever before the game. I watched it after the game because obviously I was live streaming. And I watched it after the game, and obviously bearing in mind that we'd just beaten Man United and maybe I was a bit in my feelings. And I'm not going to lie, I felt like Martin Odegaard. I started singing the song. I've been saying for ages that we need to play some DMX, some hardcore music, but I find myself joining and I was like, North London forever, these streets are our own. I don't know, I was caught up in the emotion. As you can tell by some of my reactions, I'm a slightly emotional Arsenal fan. I think I was calling for Arteta to be sacked by the end of the game. You know, the celebrations were a whole lot different. But yeah, North London forever, I was miming it a little bit. I can't lie, people. I'm a little bit ashamed of myself. But, you know, it is what it... I'm telling you, they had me weak. Soft, I'm telling you. You might as well have me in the next, you know, P. Diddy, I Need a Girl video. It's wild. Big up my brother Kevin Campbell in the chat. Kev, you know we got to do a show this week if you're available. Drop me a WhatsApp or let me know in the comments. It'd be great to get you on this week or even early next week. Big up my brother Kev. Super Kevin Campbell. But yeah, it's crazy. The weekend was wild, man. You know, I jumped in the car, straight off the stream, straight to the Emirates. I needed to be around the people and just celebrate. The Armoury was actually closed when I got there. So they probably saved me from spending some money. I can't lie, but... boy, I was singing North London forever. I was borderline ashamed of myself. But at the same time, do I just need to embrace it? I don't know. If we win trophies, I suppose we can embrace all of it. But listen, it was a great victory. Man United fans have been a little bit annoyed with me the last few days. And I've been getting messages, your celebrations were over the top, you're dissing our players, blah, blah, blah. Listen, it is what it is, people. If you saw my celebrations in the chat and on the live stream, they were wild. They were wild. I can't lie. The neighbour knows I'm live streaming, but he still looked at me like, you know, that was a little bit crazy. But listen, it's Man United at the Emirates, and the way we won it was incredible. Listen, big up everyone in the chat. Hope you're well. Let them cry, Big C, for real. Curtis, I have to buy a kit now. Which one? Oh, I mean, me personally, I think the home kit's the best of the three, but go with which one you feel. Try them on. I always think when you try them on, you get a better feeling. Yeah, big up Kev in the chat. Appreciate him tuning in. Salt, there's a lot of salt, man. I don't know if anybody watches England when they arrive on international duty. I saw it on YouTube yesterday, and obviously the players pull up in the car. The cameraman asks them a few questions, And when Declan Rice got out the car, the guy who was interviewing him was like, that was special yesterday, man. And he was like, oh, it was just a top feeling. He said, I still haven't got over it. He said his thoughts are still cloudy. He can't believe what happened. And just the way he's embraced Arsenal and the fans have embraced him, it's like a perfect match, innit? Kev said, superb win for all the Gooners. Still only the start, yet 10 out of 12 points is a good tally. You're right. I think if we're being overly nitpicking, we would have said, look, we should be here with 12, really. But then you could say we should have beaten Fulham. The Man United game was it was borderline. We could have lost that game. So, maybe. But, yeah, it would have been nice to have been on 12. But we are still unbeaten. And I suppose the positive thing is that I don't even think we've clicked into gear yet. I still believe we can go up another level, but we have to hit that level quickly because after the international break, we got some more difficult games. Midnight said your reactions were pure gold. Jermaine said, bro, you make me go in to look back at your reaction. You got to go and look, man. You got to look. Tailor-made for Arsenal, that boy Declan, 100%. Let's get into today's show. Do you know what? I'd love to still talk about that game, to be honest, but we'll leave it, man. I'm going to be honest. I'm still not over the game yet. The machete is getting blunt, says Kev. Listen, we have to go for these fans this season, man. Not literally, of course, like that fan went for Roy Keane. What the hell was he doing? The guy tried to headbutt Roy Keane and broke his own nose. I mean, what kind of foolishness is that? That was a letdown for me of Arsenal fans, man. We all feel that rivalry that Keane and Vieira had, but the man's trying to headbutt the man and he broke his own nose. You know what I mean? He didn't even do it successfully. Big up my bro Hakeem, your Jesus celebration. Honestly, I always say to people, you don't realise how crazy you are as a football fan until you put a camera in front of yourself. I'm sure most of you were going just as crazy. The Jesus chop, which as you can see I've got on the green screen, it was wild. It felt like a Thierry Henry kind of goal for me. It just felt magic. Sitting him down, and Dallo was actually probably one of Man United's best players. Patrick said, I have you on instead of the commentary. My 6-year-old daughter loves your celebrations. You literally go, I'm going crazy. I'm going ape crazy, bro. Big up you, big up your daughter, big up all the family, and big up everyone who locked in. We had great numbers on that watch along. Hype said my dog ran away from me scared. He must think, what the hell's going on? But anyway, let's get into today's show. A few bits to talk about, some positives, one or two negatives, but everything's pretty good at the moment, to be honest, regarding Arsenal. And let's talk about Player of the Month. Arsenal have just put out their nominations for Player of the Month. These are the 4 nominations for August. Benny Blanco, Eddie Murphy, the Rolls Royce, and Rice Baby, a.k.a. Ben White, Eddie Nketiah, William Saliba, and Declan Rice. Now, the one thing that we have to bear in mind is Declan Rice's performance and goal against Manchester United was in September. But recency bias definitely plays a big part. And I have to admit, it's very difficult for me to look past Declan Rice. But I'm going to be honest, I definitely would give a special shout out to Eddie Nketiah. See, I can be kind, people. People think, you've got an agenda against Eddie. No, listen, I respect the man's work. I think you look at that first month, scored against Forest, won the penalty against Palace, should have scored. And then obviously put in a really good performance against Man United as well. And did he score against Fulham? I think he did, didn't he? Yeah, so listen, Eddie's had a good month. But for me, Declan Rice, he's took to this football club like a fish to water, man. He's absolutely... He looks like he's played for this club for 5 years. I can't even remember him playing for West Ham. And listen, I'll go Deckers. The only reason I wouldn't go for Saliba and Ben White is... I think we've conceded too many goals this month, if I'm being totally honest. I think we should have kept a clean sheet against Forest. There's no way we should have conceded 2 goals against Fulham. We should have won that game. We did keep a clean sheet against Palace. So I personally think this should be Rice or Eddie Nketiah for me. And you know I love Saliba, but yeah, I think it should be one of those two. Because the Man United game wasn't in August, they may go for Eddie. Eddie's in the England squad as well. And listen, I'm going to be honest, and I keep it 100, people. I have not been the biggest fan of Eddie Nketiah. I haven't felt like he was at the Arsenal level. But as I said the other day on the stream, I'm always prepared to change my opinions, you know. And I think you can see through his hard work that he's improving. He's getting better. He has to continue improving his all-round game. But he's getting there. And do you know one thing I've always respected with him? And I used to say this about Granit Xhaka is... Eddie has huge amounts of belief in himself. You've got to remember, before the World Cup, he was selected for Ghana, and he said no, because he said, I want to play for England. And at the time, I'm like, bro, you ain't playing for England. Go to the World Cup and play for Ghana. And look at him now. He's in the England squad. So, you know, that's how you've got to answer people who don't necessarily rate you. You know, you prove it with your football. So big up Eddie. And big up to Declan Rice. I think they'll go with Eddie because I just think they'll go with Eddie just because of they know that some of the fan base have questioned whether he's good enough, and he's had a good month. He's got in the England squad, and you know things are going well. And listen, he's in the absence of Gabriel Jesus. He's had a very good month, so I think they'll go with Eddie. But I would love to see maybe Declan Rice get it if it's not Eddie as well. You sound like an Eddie fan. Listen, I always say to people, I'm an Arsenal fan. You know, even if I don't rate a player, I'm more than happy to shut my mouth. I am, honestly, more than happy. I'll eat the humble pie and shut my mouth. You know what I mean? And listen, Eddie is playing well. He's playing well. He needs to continue and keep that trajectory up. The Reaper said, worst player of the month, Havertz. Let's not do that. I'm trying not to go down that road. It's a vote for Havertz. Look, you got just leave Havertz out of it. We've spoken enough about Havertz. Just before we get into today's show properly, I wanted to speak about one player who hasn't been nominated for Player of the Month. And I realised the other day, I thought, you know what? I've never had this guy on the green screen. And I probably should have put him on the green screen today, but we'll do it later in the week. And I thought it was worth a special mention of this guy. And again, wheel it back. This is me handing out flowers, people. I'm handing out flowers today. International break, we're chilling. We have to reflect on these things. This guy, if you're not watching the screen right now, it's Martin Odegaard. A lot of you saying Fabio Vieira. Vieira's had a good little spell. It's not time to be overly praising him yet. He's done well off the bench for a few games. He's got to do it on a more consistent level when he gets the chance. But I have to talk about this man, Martin Odegaard. I call him Solar God because I said he only used to turn up in sunny afternoons at the Emirates. But do you know what? I remember saying at the start of last season, if Odegaard came home with your daughter, you'd tell your daughter to dump him because he'd run off if there was a fight. He wasn't up for the battle. I apologise. This guy for me, and again, this is me backtracking. I honestly believe now that this guy is one of the best players at Arsenal. I would say quite easily one of the best players at this football club. I think he could play for any team in the Premier League. I think Pep would take him. I'm not saying he starts every week, but his style of football, he could play for Liverpool, he could play for Man City, he could probably go back and play for that Madrid team now, to be honest. And he is, I agree with you, Barnabas, he's becoming a man. I felt like he was a little lightweight teenager when he joined us who wasn't acclimatised, wasn't up for the battle. Your Fabinhos, your Decores, your Casemiros. I felt like they would eat him up, and chew him up. But now, I think he's a top footballer. Honestly, I wanna hand out some praise to this guy. I think he is a fantastic player. And, I remember when we had Ozil in that role, I was a big fan of Mesut Ozil. But towards the end of his time, I really, started to dislike Ozil's lack of effort and lack of impact. But this guy is a top footballer. Just goes to show, Big C, it's the players. All right, Kev, you've said it once or twice. All right, 10 or 15 times. I may have to bring out merch with Kev on a t-shirt saying it's the players, Curtis. It makes sense. Kev, I'll give you 5% maximum. You've earned enough out of the game. It can't be any more than that, I'm afraid. But big up, Kev. It is the players. But this guy, I mean, you look at his numbers last season. 37 games out of 38. He only missed one game last season. 15 goals, 7 assists. 4 yellow cards, captain. This season, 2 goals in 4 games. I just think he's become... I honestly look at Odegaard. I think he can be a world-class player. I honestly think he can become one of the best attacking midfielders in world football. He's that good. Don't worry. Yeah, I'm going to message Kev. Kev, let me know on WhatsApp or in the comments. Let me know if you're about this week. So generous. 5%, Kev, man. You know what I mean? I'm on the come up. But yeah, let me know, Kev, if you're about. But yeah, Odegaard, man, what a player he's becoming. And I'm seeing real leadership from him. As I always said, not every leader is Tony Adams. Not every leader is Patrick Vieira. They're not all, pumping chest and shouting at people. Some players just lead through what they do on the ball. And as I said, that game against United the other day, if we don't equalise and we go in at half-time 1-0 down, it's a very, very different game. And, we responded instantly, people. It was like MSN Messenger. It was like BlackBerry Messenger, man. Instant replies, people. The phone was pinging. And yeah, for £30 million, I've questioned a lot of signings at Arsenal. I'm questioning one right now. The boy from Chelsea, of course. But for £30 million... it's an absolute steal. How much would he be worth now? I think he'd be worth double, probably treble that 30 million. So yeah, shout out Martin Odegaard, El Capitan. Big up Eli, said, big up yourself, Big C. Your content is one of the highlights of my day. I may not comment often. You just know I'm probably laughing in the background. Also, word is Dallo has just made his way to Pluto. Yeah, big up yourself, Eli. Yeah, he's sliding through the galaxy at the moment. It was crazy because during the game, one of my friends is a Man United fan, a very mouthy Man United fan as well. He was messaging me saying, oh, Dallo shut down Saka. Saka hasn't done nothing. And then when Jesus did that to him, I'm like, have you seen Dallo lately? Because he just slid off the screen, bro. I don't know where he is. But yeah, man. It was a magic moment, that for sure. Rebel said Curtis Odegaard has been our best player for the last couple of seasons. What team have you been watching? He's already world class. You need to open your eyes more often. You've got an agenda. He's our best player. No, listen, I think he's becoming one of our best players. And he's becoming world class. I think Saka's been player of the year for the last 2 years for a reason. So I think there's opinions in there. He's one of our best players. And you're right. It might make sense for me to do a watch along with my eyes open. That might benefit me a little bit more. Thank you for the advice. Omid said, Big C, as a Madrid fan, I really regret letting this go for 30 million. He left because of game time, not because he wasn't good enough. It would have been a success if he was patient. Yeah, he didn't want to wait, did he, of course? He'd been on loan 3 times, once to Holland, once to Sociedad, once to Arsenal. It was time, so I'm glad he left. Yeah, open your eyes. I never thought of doing that for a watch along. That I think that could really help. So I appreciate all advice, people. Much appreciated. And big up highly wanted criminal 10 caps max. 10 caps max. You wrote that a minute ago, so I'm just thinking, what was he referring to there? 10 caps. I'll think about it. I'll get back. Let me know in the comments. I'm lost there what you was actually referring to. But anyway, big up yourselves. My eyes are open for this show anyway, people, so don't worry. I think we'll make it through this one. Let's talk about Starboy himself, man like Bukayo Saka. England Men's Player of the Year for 2022-23. That's probably why I said he's probably been rated as our best player the last few years. But anyway, let me not speak. Oh, Eddie will get 10 caps max. I hear you on that. Yeah, it could be one of them. I remember they were saying... just personally off topic, when Paul Hall was the Jamaica manager last year, he's been a friend of mine for a long time, and they were talking about how they were trying to get Ivan Toney to play for Jamaica, and also Jed Spence as well. And Ivan Toney's obviously played for England now. Now, sometimes England will give a player an England cap to kind of just corner them. So, okay, that's it. You're done. You've got your cap. You can't play for no one else. And sometimes you've got to be careful with that, haven't you? I remember Zaha played for England in a friendly, but then decided to go and play for Ivory Coast because he didn't feel he was going to get enough game time. So you've got to be careful. It's not about getting one cap. You want to be consistently in the team. But the one thing I would say for Eddie, you look at the young strikers in England at the moment, I don't think the level is that high. You've got Harry Kane. You've then got, Watkins, Wilson, who I don't think are world beaters. They are good Premier League strikers. Ivan Toney when he comes back from his ban, and he's 27 years of age as well. So he's got a chance. He has probably got a chance. But it was Bukayo Saka's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday to the man himself, Starboy Settings, 22 years of age, man. And I just wanted to bring up some stats because I've always said with this boy, in fact, I'm not even going to do him the disservice. He's a grown man and he's a top quality player. I think we forget his age and his impact. You are genuinely talking about one of the best young players in world football. And I don't say that lightly. I don't hand out massive praise like that lightly. What he's done for the last 2 years for Arsenal in a time where, we've been in disarray at times, he has stepped up and he's handled, when Aubameyang left, he became the man of this team. I'm going to be the main man now. 265 games, which for 22 years of age, 73 goals and 66 assists, 139 goal contributions. Better than 1 in 2. 1 FA Cup, 2 Community Shields, 1 PFA Young Player of the Year, 1 PFA Team of the Year, 1 Premier League Player of the Month, and that was 1 time England's Player of the Month. It's now 2 time England's Player of the Year, not the month. Honestly, the sky is the limit for this boy. I said before, I know we all wanted more in the transfer window, and I think we were probably a couple of signings short. I'm not gonna hide away from that. I think we needed at least 2 more players for me to feel more comfortable that we can overcome City possibly. But to get Saka, Saliba and Martinelli to sign new deals was as big as anything. People have to understand he was a left winger, left back when he came into the team. You're now talking about one of the best right wingers on the planet. I would say he's up there with the very, very best. Mo Salah, maybe Rodrigo at Real Madrid, him and maybe 1 or 2 others. So he's incredible. I mean, Ocampo said Julian Alvarez is miles clear in terms of trophies. But Alvarez hasn't done... he hasn't played anywhere near the game time that Saka's played. He's only just really got in the City team. I know he's won multiple trophies. He's at Man City, but, there are many situations where players have won a lot of trophies but haven't been as pivotal to the team. So, yeah, Saka, what a player. And you're right, when he came through, I thought he was nailed on left back or left winger. I didn't see him ending up on the right. And what a player he is. How much would he be worth right now? The Saudis are about to offer 200 million for Salah. Now, I understand why that deal is so big. He'll be a poster boy for football in that part of the world. So it's not necessarily that Saka would go for that, but you're definitely talking about well over 100 million. When Mudryk cost 88 million after 1 year in the Ukrainian league. Coburn said, "Big up, Big C. Would we call Saka world class yet?" Do you know what? That's a good point. All right, let's start a little debate then. While I'm going on with the show, do you believe Arsenal have any world class players? And if you do, who do you think they are? Who is the world class players? I would say Saliba, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli are the 4 that, and I think they are all close to that level. I don't know. I think I always reserve judgment because I think I need to see you in the Champions League. I think that's the biggest, in club football. And we haven't seen these boys in the Bernabeu, in the Nou Camp, in the Allianz Arena. I think those guys are the ones that are close. I think they've all got the ability to become world class. Have any of them crossed that finish line yet and become world class? Some of you saying Deckers as well. Again, I still think he's got some way to go. Jesus, I think, has world class ability. I think he has to score more goals and he has to stay fit more. Ultimately, if you're injury prone, that works against you. You know, Jack Wilshere was considered a world-class young player. I think Santi Cazorla had world-class talent, but injuries can stop that. So SOS, Saka, Odegaard and Saliba, Odegaard and Nelly, Gabby and Gabby, the three Gabbies, Partey, Saliba, Odegaard, Saka. Interesting. Vinny is a world-class winger. Now compare Saka to Vinny. Saka isn't world-class. Yeah, you could be right. Because he's done it in the Champions League. World-class wins trophies. And Tabang says, come on, I think the only world-class player there is Gabriel Jesus. All the other ones have potential. It's interesting. It's a great debate. Saka and Saliba, says highly wanted criminal. Anyway, let's get into today's show. We have started it, obviously, but a couple of things I want to talk about. The one major transfer story that has come out today, well, it came out last night, actually, but we're going to just talk about it a bit more today. There's a big story in the Telegraph Sport. John Percy, also Fabrizio Romano. I'm not sure who created the story first, but Arsenal made a late inquiry to Wolves for Pedro Neto. I mean, the sky is blue. Well, not always in England, and water is wet. I think Pedro Neto is very much going into that category. You know, Yanam Villa, Julian Draxler, Gonzalo Higuain, Karim Benzema, you know, he's going into that, you know, that category of a player that we just get linked with every single year. And, you know, are we ever going to sign them? Now, I've got to be honest. I thought Arsenal should have signed another winger because I do think Saka needs more competition. What I think Arsenal need to do is give Reece Nelson more game time. And I have said many times, I think Nelson is better on the left. But I would just use him on the right because I think we've got so many options on the left. Now, a couple of things about this story. I've just wrote a few notes down from the full story. Arsenal made a late inquiry for Portuguese winger Pedro Neto. Arsenal have been linked with a move for Neto in the past. There was also rumours he was close to joining before he sustained a knee injury 2 seasons ago with Wolves. Pedro Neto is an Arsenal fan. He's also managed by George Mendes, of course, who we all know. And George Mendes has very close connections with Edu. The story also goes on to say the only reason Arsenal had no success with the approach was because they moved for him too late in the window. Wolves had already sold Jimenez, Matinho and Ruben Neves and also let go of Adama Traore and Nathan Collins, so they weren't willing to do a deal. It is believed Arsenal will go in again for Pedro Neto in January. Now, what are your guys' thoughts on Pedro Neto? Let's get the first poll up of the day. Now, I'm going to be honest. I was a big fan of Neto. I thought he was a real talent and a player that I wanted at Arsenal. He then sustained that knee injury, and I was like, you know what? Let's see how he's healed, because some of these injuries sometimes, you know, the player is not quite the same. Now, I've watched him a couple of times this season, in particular the Man United game, and he looked like he was getting back to his old self. I don't know, you know, I don't watch Wolves on a regular basis really to know, but I definitely like the look of him more this season. If you could get him for a good price, I would personally be interested. Or, you know, would you take Pedro Neto? I suppose it depends on price. The story mentions 40 million. I would like to get him for a little bit less than that. Would you take Pedro Neto for £40 million at Arsenal? And the thing is, I think we're going to need some players in January. You know, we used the last January transfer window to kind of, you know, boost the squad with Trossard, who I thought was a very smart bit of business for the squad. Pedro Neto could be something similar. Obviously, we're in the Champions League this year. As long as we get through the group stage, which I would like to think we will, you know, somebody like him would be available in the Champions League. But not everyone agrees. South London's finally said like him, but he's not a level raiser. Zelda said, no, we moved on from Neto. There are better options. Younger and hungry options. Give me some names in the comments if you think that Neto is maybe with us being in the Champions League now, some of you maybe feel that we've moved on from that level. Someone's just said he's 25. Someone said he's 27. Pedro Neto is 23. He's 23, so still young. Still young. Personally, I'd take him. I wouldn't want to pay 40 million for him, though. I agree with what a lot of you are saying in the comments, though. I mean, a lot of you saying save your money for Ivan Toney, which is a player that I've said many times. I really, really want Arsenal to get Ivan Toney in January. And the issue with Ivan Toney, for me, is you look at Tottenham. They need a striker now that Kane's gone. They've got cash on the hip. You look at Man United, depending on what happens with Højlund, could do with a striker. You look at Chelsea, they definitely need a striker. I don't think Nicholas Jackson is the answer. He's not a natural striker anyway. So there's teams there that need strikers. So my worry is just somebody gets in there first. I would love to see Ivan Toney. I wonder if Arsenal are even actively looking for a striker, because when you look at it, Jesus is now back fit, and Eddie Nketiah's there. He's in the England squad. The manager loves him. He's had a good start to the season. I wonder if Arsenal have even got any intention of going for a striker. There have been stories, but nothing really concrete. Kev said, might have to get the machete sharpened for January. Big C, Neto is a baller if fit. I like Neto. Good player. Neto is fine. He will accept being Saka's backup. And that's what you got to understand sometimes. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you can sign a real top player who's just going to say, yo, listen, I don't care if Saka's your right winger. I'm backing myself to get him out the team. But ultimately, if I'm a right winger now and you're coming for me and I know that Saka's your right winger, I'm thinking, am I going to get enough game time? The Euros is in the summer. But the reality also of the situation is if you're Neto or you're a good player of that level, you know, you're going to want to play for Arsenal at the moment. Arsenal are in the Champions League. Arsenal are playing good football. Arsenal pay big money. You know, you've seen the wage bill at Arsenal. We pay big money. So, you know, I think Neto, even if he knows, listen, I'm not automatic first choice, he would come to Arsenal. Some of you saying some other names in the comments. Someone just said there we should have signed Diaby or Doku. Dre said, well, go on, Curtis, big up the chat. We need Ivan Toney for the long run and Nketiah at the Bernabeu. I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. I would still love to get Ivan Toney. Jared Bowen is a player that I like. I honestly think he's quietly going under the radar. Broads has been saying for a long time, get Jared Bowen to Arsenal. 26 years of age. The only thing is West Ham have got a lot of money now with the Declan Rice deal. He would be expensive. Kev, they're asking in the comments. Clement said, I know you're busy. Will you be covering La Liga as you used to do, Kev? Let us know. The people then want to know. Missed the trip with Diaby, but I think he wanted 100% first team football. I love and miss Leroy Sané. I was a big fan of Leroy Sané. Hendon Guna said we should have signed Maddison and Ward-Prowse instead of Havertz. I mean, at the moment, it's difficult to argue with that. You know, those two cost about the same as Havertz. Ward-Prowse would have been another good midfield option. And Maddison, listen, Maddison is a player that I honestly think we should have signed. Eze from Palace is a player that I really, really like. Elise, he's good as well. His release clause has gone up. Evan Ferguson, I think, will cost big money next summer if he continues scoring goals for Brighton. I think he'll cost 80, 90 million. He's only 18 years of age. If he can get 15, 20 goals, he'll cost a fortune. Nzonzi's another one. Yeah, I always wanted Nzonzi at Arsenal, you know. I always felt we lacked power and we never got him, did we? But big up, highly wanted. Jashar Neto's an Arsenal fan. He'll end up at Spurs then. He better not. They signed Brennan Johnson. And they've got Kulusevski, so they don't need a right winger. Oh my Jays, we have Pedro Neto's at home, man. We need something different. He wants it. He wants a higher level. Simon said hard in January. Everyone is aiming to win or in a relegation battle. Hard to find teams who are not in contention for Europe or in danger of relegation. But you know what? I get you. The January window is difficult, but it can still happen if the circumstances are right. If you lay down enough cash, you know, Liverpool sold Coutinho in January. I believe they bought. They got Van Dijk in a January window. We got Arshavin. We got Aubameyang. You know, we got Trossard. You look at Mudryk went last January. If you're prepared to pay the cash and you're in a good situation, players will still push for moves. You know, money always talks. But yeah, it can be more difficult, you know, because clubs will always say, wait until the end of the season. Now, this is a crazy shout. What do you guys think of this? Get Jadon Sancho. Wow. That is crazy. Would anybody take a chance on Jadon Sancho? See, my problem with Sancho, I got to be honest, I thought he was a fantastic player at Dortmund. And I do think there is an element of Man United tax attached to him, because ultimately at United, Antony's flopped, Sancho's flopped, Martial's flopped, Lukaku flopped. They've got a similar thing going on to Chelsea. I just think the problem with Sancho, man, is his wages. He's on 300 grand a week, and I just don't think he's that good on the right. I think he's better on the left, and I don't think we need a left winger. Listen, I've said before, we are the RSPCA. We do like a rescue mission. I'm going to be honest. If you said to me, I mean, people saying time out for Sancho. I'd rather have Sancho than Havertz. I'm not even joking. But yeah, I wouldn't go for Sancho. It's definitely a rescue mission. He's on 300 grand a week. And you'd pay 50 million for him, 40, 50 mil. And he wants to play on the left. So we need to stop being the RSPCA, man. Stop rescuing stray dogs on the side of the road and get players that are on form, man. It's not the one for me. Ross, look at the chat screen going fast as hell. Yeah, he said Sancho, and everyone's like, bam, 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 no, 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 no. People saying timeouts and all sorts. Yeah, Sancho and Nelson are best mates. They are, but you know, we need players who are performing, man. Naz said, Curtis, your watch-along was absolutely legendary. Your reactions were so honest and funny at times, especially when Rashford scored. Keep it up. Listen, man, as I said, man, I look back at the reactions. I was like, wow, I did go a bit crazy, but it was the emotion of the game, man. It was, you know, it was a roller coaster. I think every Arsenal fan watching that game, finished that game, and you was like, wow, man, that was just crazy. Big up LSU Gunner. Big up from Houston, Texas. Saving Private Ryan. I always say, listen, man, we need to try and sign players that are on the up, that are performing, that are in form. You don't want to have to keep signing players and I'm going to change your fortunes and I'm going to put you in a new position. I'm going to get you playing better. And, you know, that is always a risk. You sign players that are out of form. It's a rescue mission. Now, every now and then it will work. You know, it will. Sometimes, look at Thierry Henry at Juventus. He wasn't having a great time. We rescued him. He's the best player probably to ever play in the Premier League. But I don't want us to get into the habit of doing that too often and spending big money on those players, because you end up stuck with them. The reality is if Havertz doesn't click into gear, it's very difficult to escape and get out of it, you know. So we can't have too many in that situation. Kev said the La Liga show has finished, not coming back at the moment. Morris said, do not apologise for passion. It's what we all want. Big up. I appreciate that, bro. Zelda said the Havertz misreaction was funny. I rewatched it 3 times. It was funnier. I was, you know, some things got said when he missed the ball. Do you know what? With the Havertz one, I'm going to be honest. It wasn't the fact that he missed the chance. He missed the damn ball. Just kick the ball. You know what I mean? Like even your little child, when you take them in the park to practice playing football, the first thing you teach them is how to make contact with the football. He's 8 yards out. I know he's under pressure. I know his confidence is low. Hit the ball and it gets blocked. I could have probably accepted it. Hit the ball, it hits the crossbar. You know, I'd have been fuming, but okay, you're unlucky. The man missed the ball. I was like, bro, what is going on? As I said, for me, I'm going to discuss it in the next game. And I'm actually going to talk about it shortly, about the Everton game and how I think we should line up. Big up Kev. He said, Big C, have you covered our defending at the Emirates not being anywhere near good enough? I mean, if you look at it, this is part of the reason that we are not champions at this moment in time, because we, for some reason, we can't keep a clean sheet at the Emirates. I don't understand it. We're not quite scoring enough and we're conceding too many. It's like, we're getting, I don't understand. When we take the lead in games at the moment, it's like we get caught between, should we sit back and protect what we've got? Or shall we go after a little bit more? And we get caught in between. We don't go and get the third and fourth, although we did against United, but it was late. And we concede sloppy goals. It's something we've got to cut out. You have to be able to win games 1-0 sometimes, I don't understand why we're constantly conceding at home. It is very strange. Away from home, we almost look more solid. Carol said Cruz would have scored that. If Cruz missed that ball like that, I would have been like, bro, we're in the training ground tonight, not even tomorrow. We're training tonight. You can't be missing the ball. He would have scored that, I'm telling you. He would have at least hit it. Hype, big up Hype, new member. Welcome to the community, bro. Oliver said we've got a better chance of winning the Champions League than the Prem. But you know what? That's poll number 2. Let's end this first poll. 66% of you say that you would take Pedro Neto. 34% say no. And now I'm gonna nick a poll question idea there. What do Arsenal have a better chance of winning this season? Have a better chance of winning. Now, listen, we might not win any of them. Let's be honest, we've never won the Champions League. So there's no divine right. But I think that's interesting because, honestly, I was looking at the Champions League draw the other day, and to me, there's only a couple teams there that are really, really... where you think, okay, you really wouldn't want to play them, but it's look at the draw, isn't it? AC Milan v Inter Milan was the Champions League semi-final last season. I honestly believe that Arsenal could beat both of them over 2 legs. Don't get me wrong, they got a lot of history and pedigree, they got some quality players, they could beat us, but we could beat them. So you just never know, do you? You just never know. Apparently, I've done the poll wrong. What did I say? Oh, yeah, my apologies. I've put yes or no. What do we have a better chance of it? There we go. What do we have a better chance of winning? What do we have a better chance of winning? The Champions League or the Prem? Big up to the community. The poll was wrong. Yeah, let me know. Listen, it's interesting, isn't it? Because either one of them, Manchester City, are there. So it's a problem. But cup competition football, I think the Champions League is possibly more winnable because I think you can Man City over a longer period of time, I think, becomes more and more difficult because they get more consistent. It's like they get better the longer the season goes on. In the Champions League, anything can happen. People saying I should have put option C, absolutely nothing. Listen, we need to win something. We need to win something this season, I'm telling you. I think we can go far in the Champions League, and then it's about look at the draw and, some big nights at the Emirates. But it'll be difficult. Do I expect us to win any of them this season? It's more hope than expectation, if I'm being totally honest. The Champions League is going to be difficult, and we need to keep players fit as well. That's the other thing, because, like I said, I'm not trying to go to the Bernabeu and places like that with, if you've got no Partey or you've got no Gabriel Jesus or you've got no Saliba, it could be a long night at the office. Anyway, another story that I wanted to talk about. Hit that vote button, get yourself involved on that. Oliver said we've got a better chance of winning the Champions League than the Prem. Jashar said, big up Curtis, unless Arsenal are paying 100 million each, Eze and Elise. Sorry. I mean, Jashar, for anyone who don't know, Jashar's an Arsenal fan, but also kind of a Palace fan as well. But you've just got to allow that to happen on the food chain, bro. They start at Palace and then ease them into Arsenal. Let Eze come to Arsenal and cook, man. Not for 100 million either. A little backhander, 50 million brown envelopes. Big up Jay, though, man. Hope you're well, bro. Black said, professional footballer missing the ball. How? Pressure bust pipes, people, and the pipes bust right now. I don't know what's going on. Havertz' confidence level is on minus 100 right now. Hopefully he does well for Germany in the international break. Faye said we spent 65 million on a giraffe to kick the ear. Oh, dear. Listen, when people are bantering him, I have to almost refrain from laughing. But, Yeah, I think the giraffe would have done a better finish than that, to be honest. Simon said betting markets have as a 12% chance of winning the league, 8.6% chance of the Champions League. Big up, Simon. Highly wanted say play Liverpool on Saturday and Madrid on Tuesday. You start doing that, your squad depth needs to be strong, that's for sure. I really don't see us winning the Prem as long as Man City are here, said Tok. Why do you guys copy our style every season, says Khalid. Don't you worry, man. We've got our own twist on it, man, as well. Don't worry. Can you share the link to vote? Voting's closed now, Mad Settings. It will reopen once the nominations come out. I'll keep you all updated. Thank you to everyone who did vote. And if you didn't, don't worry. I'm sure you thought about it. Listen, the next story I want to talk about, though, anyway, is the goalkeeping situation. Sammy Mockbell has got a story out today. Let me move my logo out of the way, get it so you can read it all. And he's wrote an interesting story today, people. Ben Brown, that's a good one. He said, we ain't copying nothing. We have 43 different formations, according to the manager. But Sammy Mockbell going with this story. Mikel Arteta is ready to give David Raya a run of games. Aaron Ramsdale is under growing pressure. I mean, this is very interesting. Number one, is he getting this? Is he getting actual information, or is this just him making something up? I think we all have the impression that David Raya is going to get in the team soon. We do have a Carabao Cup game this month. So for me, I was thinking, he probably won't play until the Carabao Cup. But I've read this article, and the article says, I've just written some of the notes down, just bear with me here. The article says that Arsenal coaching staff and the manager have been hugely impressed with how good David Raya is with the ball at his feet in training, and are considering him, putting him in the Arsenal team and giving him a run of games. I mean, that doesn't sound like, he's going to get a Carabao Cup game in 3 weeks. It sounds like they're genuinely thinking about putting him in for the Premier League games. Now, I'm a little bit unsure on this one. I believe, and I've said all along, I think David Raya has been brought in here to give Ramsdale a serious battle. He ain't here to sit on the bench all season. He's going to get game time. And obviously the belief and the stats show that David Raya is better on the ball than Aaron Ramsdale. If you look at completed passes, things like that from last season, his stats were higher than Aaron Ramsdale. However, it's difficult because we know that Mikel Arteta is a great believer in what you do in training. We've seen that with Eddie. He consistently talks about training. Has Ramsdale done enough to be dropped? That would be my question. Has he done enough to be dropped? I don't think he has, but he brought David Raya in for a reason, and he's obviously producing in training, so maybe he wants to give him a go. Do you know what? Let me end this poll because I want to see your thoughts on the goalkeeper. 65% of you say we've got a better chance of winning the Champions League than the Premier League. 35% say the Premier League. David Raya is allowed to play. Some of you saying, will he be cup tied? David Raya is allowed to play in the Carabao Cup against Brentford, even though he's on loan from Brentford. That rule is not applied in the Carabao Cup, so he is able to play. But I'm going to do a poll, and I want to know your thoughts and opinions. Would you pick Raya? Would you pick Raya ahead of Ramsdale? And I'm talking Premier League, Champions League. I'm not talking about Carabao Cup, give him a little run out. I'm talking, do you think it's time to put him into the team? The thing what's very difficult, and I've spoken about this a number of times, sometimes you have a good player and you bring a new player in and it makes you realise there was another level to hit. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with the goalkeepers. Kieran Tierney was at left-back. Everybody loved Tierney. Nobody thought we needed a first-choice left-back. People were saying just get a good second choice as backup. We then got Zinchenko. Now, I don't think Zinchenko's a better defender than Kieran Tierney. But what he is, he suits our style of football a lot more, and he gives us He gives us something that the manager wants. And now Tierney's on loan. Nobody talks about him. I think Ramsdale is a good goalkeeper. But I do think there's another level to go up. And I would be intrigued to see whether David Raya can go to that level. This is probably the comment so far. Drop Havertz for David Raya. I mean, he'd have probably volleyed that in, to be honest. I mean, E. Ross said, Curtis, we will hurt Ramsdale's feelings. Honestly, bro, I don't care about players' feelings. I just want us to have the best possible team and win trophies. Feelings, I'm not really interested in. I'm sure we've got plenty of, a lot of you have got relationships. They worry about those feelings in the house. Don't worry about the players' feelings. I want the best goalkeeper. What I will say, I don't think Ramsdale necessarily deserves to be dropped. I don't look at him and think, oh, he's made mistakes, drop him. I just think if Raya's performing as good as they're saying in training, maybe it's time to give him a game. Everton away will be difficult, but listen, we'll see. If this report is true, it could just be a slow news week and there's nothing in it and he isn't going to play until the Carabao Cup. But if it is true, I will be intrigued to see if he gets a game against Everton. Big up Fitz in the chat. It's the same when George Graham got David Seaman over Lukic. We were all gobsmacked, but history shows he was right. Like I said, there's many situations where you've gone, boy, he's a good player. And you've signed someone else, and all of a sudden you've gone, he's even better. And that's the reality. They're saying that he's performing at a top level in training. So, listen, Ramsdale hasn't done anything really to get dropped. But they obviously might feel that Raya's performing at a higher level. Big up Static. I have seen your message. I will get back to you, bro, about the mod and things like that. It's nothing personal. It was just because there was a certain amount of numbers, but you are back in the comments, so we can sort that back out. Big up yourself. 2,100 of you in the chat. Big up to everyone locked in. Make sure you like the video and subscribe. Raul said, Big C, we concede a goal in the first shot taken against us. Raya in. The interesting thing is, if Turner was number 2 to Ramsdale, nobody would be saying drop him. But because Raya's there, and some of the goals that we've conceded sometimes leave you a little bit feeling like, could he have got that? Should he have got that, Or, I don't think his kicking has been quite as good as it's been in previous years. It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one. Big up Static, bro. Big up yourself, bro. Latte said, how can he drop Ramsdale but keep Kai Havertz over ESR and Trossard? Football's a funny game, innit? The situation we're in with Havertz at the moment, and I'll speak about him a little bit, is that the manager has just bought Kai Havertz. And I think people have to understand, Kai Havertz is the 3rd most expensive signing in Arsenal history. Right, he costs more than Aubameyang. He costs more than Alexis Sanchez. Declan Rice, Nicolas Pepe, Kai Havertz, Aubameyang. That's the order of the top 4. He's the 3rd most expensive player ever at Arsenal. He's been at the club for 4 games, and they've given him over £200,000 a week on a 5-year contract. Now, the owners are looking at the manager now and saying, okay, what have you made me spend my money on? So he's don't get me wrong, I'm not defending him here at all. He's put himself in this situation. Nobody forced the manager to sign Kai Havertz. Probably 95% of the fan base would have said, don't sign him. But we've also got to understand he is under pressure to try and get him to work. And he's thinking the more game time I give him, the closer we're getting to something happening. Now, as I always say, fine margins. Kai Havertz just needs a moment. At the moment, he doesn't look like he can produce a top quality performance. He looks like we're just searching for a moment. If he scores that volley against Man United, we're celebrating him. But at the moment, we can't even find a moment out of him, and that's the problem with him. I've been at new clubs, and sometimes you don't hit top form straight away, but you just want to show the fans and show the players and show the manager, okay, I'm not really at it yet, but you see the moment. I remember the first time Pepe played against Burnley at home, and he did that little skill and nutmegged the guy and ran about 20 yards forward. And everyone in the stadium went, oh! And we come out of the ground that day and everyone was like, yo, did you see what Pepe did to that brother? And we was like, yo, imagine when he settles in, he's going to be unreal. Unfortunately, it didn't play out like that. But you've got to give the fans moments. And at the moment, he's giving us nothing. Now, my worry with him, and I've said time and time again, all we can do is support him. Now people say, I don't always support him. If you see some of the things I said about him in the live stream on Saturday, I compared him to the donkey out of Shrek. I'm sorry, I was emotional. But he's got to do more. He's got to do more. It's on him ultimately. But the manager has got to help him by maybe taking him out of the team. Sometimes you need to take somebody out of the firing line and say, listen, calm down a bit, go on the bench, come on for 20 minutes, try and get a goal. The pressure will be less, the expectation will be less, and we'll build you into the team like that. We've also got to figure out what Kai Havertz's best position is, because I've said for a long time, I'm not sure that this is his best position, because there's a lot of defensive responsibility. I'm not sure he's built for that. I'm actually not sure that he suits the Premier League, if I'm being honest. But time will tell. ESR is 1,000 times better than Havertz. More sharp, more fast. Listen, I would much rather see ESR in that role than Havertz. But we are where we are. Red Eye Gooner, Havertz had one moment in his whole career in the Champions League final. I'm beginning to think that might have been a one-off. I mean, listen, let's get one thing clear. Havertz was good at Leverkusen, but that was at Leverkusen. Timo Werner looked great at Leipzig. He came to the Prem. Didn't happen. And people said, yo, he ain't built for the Prem. Send him back. Send him back. And now, look, they sent him back to Germany, And that's the reality. Some players don't suit certain leagues, the style of football, the physicality. He hasn't had one good season in the Premier League at Chelsea. So we're definitely, it's a rescue mission. It's a rescue mission. Curtis, that donkey in Shrek is my favourite character. Stop the disrespect. I'm a big fan of that donkey in Shrek, to be fair. Eddie Murphy is the voice of that donkey, and I've got a lot of respect for that donkey. I can't lie. Havertz's best position is on a farm, according to Bravo. Listen, we got to hope it clicks at some stage, but he's way too passive for me. He needs to be braver and get on the ball more and try and make things happen. Bravery is not running around smashing people in tackles. It's getting on the ball and trying to make something happen. Before we start to round up, I just want to look ahead briefly to the game against Everton. I know it's early and we don't play this game for over a week, but a lot of people, there's a lot of debate at the moment from people saying that Fabio Vieira should start the Everton game, which I understand. Fabio Vieira's done really well in the last few games, and Havertz probably needs to come out for that game and give somebody else an opportunity. It actually wouldn't surprise me if the manager continued with Havertz. But for me, I actually probably... I've gone with the wrong formation there. I actually would probably not play him in this game in terms of from the start, just simply because I think Everton away is just one of them games for Arsenal. Everton can lose 10 games in a row, play Arsenal at Goodison, and they beat us. So for me, I would actually play Jorginho in this game, and I would play him next to Rice to give us that extra stability in midfield, just because honestly I've seen this story before and I don't like it. Everton haven't won a game for months. We turn up and Onana starts to look like Patrick Vieira and they just beat us up and send us home. So I think for this game, go with the double pivot in midfield, have that extra stability, because don't get me wrong, we're going to have an absolute battle against Everton. We always do. Onana, Decore, Drissa, all them guys, it's never easy. Why have I put Martinelli up front? It's never easy against Everton. I want to know in the comments, what would your team be? Would you stick with the same formation we've been playing and play Rice as a lone six and continue with two attacking mids and maybe play Odegaard and Fabio Vieira? Or would you put Trossard in there? Would you put Smith Rowe in there? There's a couple of interesting ones why I left them blank, because I was thinking, would I actually give David Raya the start? And I'm also thinking, do you go Eddie Nketiah or do you go Gabriel Jesus in those two positions? Kev, who's obviously, we definitely got to get you on, Kev, next week with it being Arsenal-Everton, actually. That's perfect time. He obviously played for both. Those two, well, I think we've got 3 positions on the pitch for next week that will be very interesting. The goalkeeper, do you go David Raya? There's rumours that the coaches have been very impressed with him in training. They're looking to get him in the team. Do you play? I would play Jorginho next to Declan Rice and go with the 2 centre mids with Odegaard in front just to give us a little bit more stability. And would you keep Eddie up front? I mean, I feel really bad saying this. I would go with Jesus up front, even though Eddie's played really well, and I know that seems very harsh because he has played well. He's in the England squad. He could be, he could win Player of the Month, but ultimately Gabby is the #1 striker at the club. He's just come on and scored an outstanding goal. He's fully fit. He's in the Brazil squad. There is a pecking order here, isn't there, to be honest? So I would go Gabby Jesus. I've got to be totally honest. Let me end the poll and this will give me the answer then. Would you pick Raya ahead of Ramsdale? 67% of you saying yes. You would pick David Raya over Ramsdale. So you're dropping Rambo. It's funny. I always think in my head, put a goalkeeper in at home against an easier team. So there's less pressure. But at the same time, the community have spoken. The community want David Raya in goal ahead of Ramsdale for our next game. What do you think about the Eddie shout? It's not harsh. Jesus earned the start, to be fair, and it wasn't Eddie's best game against United. He ran around a lot. He worked hard. Clement said, I'm starting. So he's going with Raya. So I feel really harsh doing that to Rambo, but I think it's a matter of time before David Raya plays. I honestly do. I think it's a matter of time before he gets in this team. But I just think the manager's got to manage it carefully. I think to drop a player who hasn't really done anything wrong, it could have an adverse effect, because what he also has to remember is if he drops Ramsdale when he hasn't done anything wrong and then Raya doesn't perform, how do you then turn back to Ramsdale who feels he's been unnecessarily dropped? So I think he's got to be very careful about the way he puts David Raya in the team. I personally, against Everton, would keep Ramsdale in the team. I'm going to be honest. I know that we're all sort of waiting for David Raya and a lot of people think he may be better. But I think the stability, I would keep him there. And I would play Rambo in goal. But yeah, Gabriel Jesus, as harsh as it is, there is a pecking order. He is the #1 striker. He's in the Brazil squad. He should be fully fit now. And, I think if Arsenal are going to have a lot of success this season, a lot of it will depend on keeping Gabriel Jesus fit for, 30 to 35 league games and seeing if he can get 15 to 20 league goals this year. So, listen, we'll see what happens. But listen, let me get through these super chats. Let's see. Play Liverpool on Saturday. No, I read that one. Arsenal offered 95 million for Mudryk. Yeah, I hear you. So the Palace players, you might want more. Mamadou said maybe Arteta realised Ramsdale is better than Raya. Go Rami. Well, let's see. The reports say that Raya's been wowing coaches in training. But I would stick with Ramsdale for the Everton game. I think he deserves the shirt. He hasn't done enough to lose it for me. Simon said to get an idea, Raya needs a run of games. I think cup competitions and Champions League group games then see. Yeah, you could be right on that. Oh My J said Ramsdale's distribution seems to have dropped off a cliff, and I often feel he can do better with goals he's conceded. He does pull off the odd world-class save though. Raya deserves a chance. Big up all my J's. Big up young Gunnar. Neto is good, but I'd rather us go for Eze or Leon Bailey. Would you sell Saka if it meant us winning the treble? Harsh, but success is huge. Listen, I don't like to sit on the fence. Of course, we do not want Saka to go anywhere. I'm making it clear. Of course not. If Saka had to go for the treble, then Saka would have to go. That's the reality of the situation. I'm here for club success, not individual hype. You know, the treble. I mean, I'd probably be on holiday for 6 months if we won the treble. I'd be celebrating that much. You know, it'd be like Hangover 4. I'd probably be in Vegas with my passport, and I'd just be back when I'm back. I'd let any player at Arsenal leave to win the treble. You know, that's the reality of the situation. It's club over any player, any manager, any coach. But, of course, we don't want Saka. We want to win the treble with Saka. That's what we want. Leno laughing at Ramsdale somewhere in Fulham. Oh, hey, I don't think he is. I don't think he can laugh at him. How can he laugh at him? He's playing for Fulham. He got sold because of him. Ramsdale's in the England squad. I'm not sure if Leno's in the Germany squad. He might be. And Ramsdale's still the number one. So, you know, I think he's still there, Ramsdale. And remember, this manager bought Ramsdale. He didn't buy Leno. He didn't buy Emi Martinez. So he had no real loyalty to those two. I think with Ramsdale, he knows he's got to manage that situation a lot more carefully. So, yeah, listen, people, thank you very much for tuning in. Let me read a few of your comments before we round up. Curtis, call Rick Ross to cover you for 6 months if Arsenal win the treble. Listen, if we won the treble, I'd be on tour for months. I'd just be catching flights. I'll pack his bags for him. Minster said, sell Havertz. Who would want to buy him at this stage? Milan said, David Raya's calm demeanour and superior ability on the ball will make us better. What if the treble was the Emirates Cup, Community Shield, and the Carabao Cup? Then he stays. You know, I'll let that one go. Shaw on World Tour. Yep, for real. Listen, people, big up everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate your support as always. Still over 2,000 of you in the chat and 40 of you on Twitch. Big up everyone. Like the video. Obviously, it's a quiet week. I may do an England watch along this weekend, just to keep the show ticking over. I'm going to try and get a collab this week and maybe one or two next week as well, just to mix it up. From Monday, we'll obviously be counting down to the weekend when we play against Everton. So it is a bit of a quiet week, but the live content will still run, people. So hope you have a great day, people. And, you know, just like Dallo, I'm sliding out of the show. And what's this one? Curtis, what were you thinking when you were touching Robbie's head? I don't know what it was, people. I was hyped. I was happy. His shiny bald head was in front of me. He was interviewing. I just gave it a little rub. It made sense to me, you know. It's just one of them. It's just, you know, it was a sign of respect. Rub the shiny bald head. But, yeah, we'd just beaten United. I was hyped, people. Big up Robbie, though. Big up to everyone locked in. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you all tomorrow, people. Bless.